In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 20 of the Moon Tea podcast. Today we don't have a guest, so you're stuck with me and Hugh today.
I'm so sorry.
But hey, it's been a while, so maybe we have some stuff to reflect about, chat about. For those of you who care, where am I? Somewhere in Oregon. But yeah, check out my Airbnb. Also, we're gonna have the podcast like Spotify and over other stuff format. So we've been promising it for a while. So hopefully by next week it's real. That's it.
Amazing.
Also have some wine.
Nice.
So it turns out Trader Joe's $3 Shuck has an organic version that's $4. So I tried it.
$4 Chuck. Is it good?
Yeah. It's a little bit better than $3 Chuck, but at one point in my life I drank too much, so it's like it's not like as enjoyable as it was when I was like 22. I think it's fine wine, but I just like drank too much of it when I was younger. But yeah, the organic version I think is a little better than the other one.
Amazing.
Amazing. What's up with you, Hugh?
As I have news. I'll just you want to know what the news what's the update? Guess
he's having a baby?
No, only I got promoted to be a senior designer. Hey.
Bam, 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 bam.
Big time. Titles. Dude. Nothing changes, but hey.
Dude, I thought you were already like head of design.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think it really counts of whatever you are if you're the only designer at a company. So I was just a product designer, but we're now trying to grow a bit. So that's kind of nice. Been a year and a half, and hey, yeah, that's what I was going to tell you.
What did that process look like?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of entertaining. So a few weeks ago, I texted my boss, which is the CEO, that we text every now and then on WhatsApp. I don't really have check-ins with them. And I was like, yeah, hey, Amr, I feel like I'm underperforming in my role as a product manager and as a designer. I'm not able to like support both functions and help bring on this other designer we were bringing on in Belarus. And so from there, basically he received it really well. It could have gone anyway. And he's like, it makes a lot of sense. Let's take you off of being a product manager and on to what you're saying. Because I was basically expressing to him, we have a lot of product managers already, a lot being 2, and we have a head of product that's just joined, and we're trying to hire for another product manager. And so I was kind of like holding over that fort for a bit. And I kind of was like, yeah, I think product manager track is fantastic. I don't think I can give up. It seems like it's the most supported right now with like roles and function and people. Mm-hmm. But the design track, there's no one in the design team except for me right now. And I just realized there just came a moment where I was like, I don't think it's a very good idea for me to be changing over to be a PM. and so I was like, it's probably for now, at least, I think it's like my baby. I can't really give up my baby. And I was feeling all emotional. I was like, I can't just give it to somebody. I don't even know who they are. You can't really train someone that quick. So long story short-ish, worked out well received. And he's like, to be honest with you, I'm really excited for you to go back to full-time design and lead the design team again, because it's felt a bit kind of like an empty, like a slot that started to be missing. And I was like, oh, that was nice of you. So it worked out well. After who knows where it could have gone if you text your boss. I feel like I'm underperforming.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it seems like you two are vibing well. Like you can be really honest with him, and he can just be there to listen. I feel like that's the point of a good manager.
Yeah, I feel pretty lucky. That's one of the big things that, when you think of a new role, right? And
Hmm.
job hopping, a lot of people just think about salary. And so for me, I actually, a very, very large thing is two part. Of course, it's like culture fit of like what the company's doing if you actually are interested. But two,
Hmm.
it's also not just about the salary or money. It's about mm, the team slash the manager who you're under and working with.
Hmm.
And for me, it was extremely important, especially at a startup as small as this one that I
Yeah.
joined, that I was like, I am not joining a company at a startup that's like my whole livelihood on the line for, possible whatever it is that you join startups for, that are in their 20s. I'm not having leadership in the 20s. Like, I do not care if it's the next Mark Zuckerberg. I do not care if it's Steve Jobs in his 20s. I will not work for people in their 20s right now. And so that was one of the biggest reasons why Amr, he's in his 40s, and leadership staff is all kind of in that age range. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And it's turned out well. It was a year and 6 months later now. Crazy.
Wow. The longest you've been at a job, right? So far?
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
guess at Airbnb
longest,
you were in different roles, kind of bouncing around within the company.
yeah, but I quit 2, 3 times.
That's so funny. Yeah, I remember I think you were like 2 or 3 months in. I think you were doing like a recruiting coordinator role. And then one day we were just sitting and you were just like, it doesn't feel right. Like I quit. And then I
That's
see you
funny.
like a week later and you're just like, oh, I'm still working at Airbnb. And I was like, it was like it was a, it was such a like sudden, but just happened to work out for the experience.
That was serendipity at its finest. That was actually a crazy story. Um, it was. Shall I share it? I can quickly share it, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
What take us back. You know what month was it? How you feeling?
I just graduated college. I read Steve Jobs' autobiography. I said, "Nah, Elon Musk is up there. All these techies, let's go." So San Francisco instead of Cali, and then Koru with you. Then first job, recruiting coordinator at Airbnb. I did it for 6 months. One of the
Oh,
coolest
6 months.
moments was, yeah, one of the coolest moments was like 5 months in. So I'm Google calendaring for 6 to 8 hours a day, just recruiter interviews for the development teams. So you have like 2 culture fit interviews plus 4 developer interviews, and you have to do 6 people per one um, recruit, I guess, or person interviewing. So bit of a nightmare. With that, there was one day though, the best thing I remember seeing Brian Chesky, the CEO of Airbnb, walking around with a group of like 8 people, and he'd give tours of 888 Brandon Street in Soma, San Francisco. And
Yeah.
there, I'm at this computer, and there's like the hallway door, and this is the recruiting place with the Airstream. And I was watching, and I was like, wait, who is that? Is that really? That's Elon Musk. And there Elon Musk was like 20 feet away. And I was like, oh, cool. So he's getting a tour of the Airbnb HQ right now. That's cool. And I'm just
That's
a
great.
recruiting coordinator, just like dragging things. But anyways, yeah, I definitely wasn't feeling too hot. I had like a cool um team slash manager, but I think the manager is on the younger side, and I kind of just left without any support, and I was too young and immature. I honestly be able to understand what it meant to be in the workforce and to like be proactive and to kind of not fight for yourself, but to figure out how to grow on career path. And so I started to become like a bit of a muddle of emotion and kind of anxiety ridden. And so I was like, I just can't. I feel so upset and hurt and like in pain inside. Like this isn't hitting the spot, like even though this is therapy. And so then I told him, you guys are great, but time to head out. And so on my last day, when I was just about to head out, I remember um, looking over at Bicky, and Bicky is a recruiter, and she
Hmm.
and I had talked like once before, maybe 3 months in, and I had always known that she had worked at Apple back in the time when Steve Jobs was there. And for me, I was like the biggest Steve Jobs fanboy nerd, reading the autobiography still at that time. And I just went up to her at the end of the day, and I was going out, and I was just like, Bicky, it was such a pleasure. I really wish I could have gotten to know you more. Today is my last day. I never talked with you more than that one time, but it was just always cool knowing that you're the first person that ever has met in person one of the biggest inspirations of my life, Steve Jobs. And she was like, "What? You're leaving? Today's your last day? Let's grab a meal." I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "Okay,
Did you
sure."
give it 2 weeks? Did you give notice, by the way?
Yeah, I gave 2 weeks. I gave it 2 weeks notice. But usually when I give it 2 weeks, I only give it tell managers, and I usually don't tell coworkers. I wasn't that close with most anyone, so I was still trying to figure out how to do community and like talk with people and make friends. But with that, Vicky was super nice, and she's like, "Yeah, let's go." So Airbnb, of course, we have a cafeteria downstairs. Go get lunch, and in line, it was just so funny. She's like asking me some questions. I was like, "Yeah, I did photo film." Was like hoping to explore that a bit more, do some freelance work, and this is why recruiting coordinating didn't work out for me. Airbnb's great, but it just didn't work out for the role, and I don't know where I'm going. But and she's like, "Oh," and we're waiting in line, and she looks forward, and she's like, "Oh, hey, you see that guy?" And she's down, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I don't know who that is." She's like, "Yeah, that's Hoon, Hoon," and she waves him over.
Hmm.
He like, "Oh hey Vicky," like, "Yo," and she's like, "Yeah, this is Hugh. Nice to meet you. Cool. Talked, and then he went on his way. And then Vicky, when we went and sat down, she's like, "You know who that was? That was Hoon. He's the manager for the film and photo team, looking for a digital archivist, and I'm helping recruit for that role.
Wow.
Maybe you'd be interested in coming in next week for an interview." I was like, "Wait, what?" so so that was my last day. And then I came back a week later for an interview. And so I'm on this side of 888 Brandon Street. And it's a big square on the third floor. And so I remember you walk up this stairwell. And so a week later, I had like left. Everyone said goodbye. And instead of turning right, I turned left. And left goes to the film and photo team department. And then I had an interview. And then like a week later, I started as a digital archivist. and and that was pretty entertaining. So then people in the hallway from the recruiting team were like, wait, I thought you left. And I was like, I did. I don't know how I'm back, but I'm back. So it was a pretty entertaining,
Was that a
weird.
contract role?
Yeah, contract role the whole time. And I did it for about 10 months. So a digital archivist, for anyone who's interested or wanting or kind of curious, is in the photo team, you've got a photo repository, or basically a place where people need to store film and photo assets that are distributed to any other team in the company. And so at Airbnb, we were using some legacy solutions, and basically I sift through 400,000 plus photos and metadata tag all of them to be like categorized and searchable, and then create a new like quote unquote architectural system for how the photos are used with a different tool called by like Orange Logic or something. So it was really fun. I was the only guy and I didn't know what I was doing, but it was really interesting. But a whole different aspect of the word tedious, because you have to do like taxonomy, dictionaries, and build out like keyword structures and a lot of Excel. But it was fun.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice. And then did you quit that job?
So that one came to a close, and that one where I was like, "Hey Hoon, after 10 months, I don't think this is cutting it for me. I don't think I'm going to be wanting to go into the career path of a digital archivist slash DAM admin, digital asset manager." And I was like, "It probably is possibly time for me to head out. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't see any possibilities here." And he's like, "Oh, let's see, let's figure this out. And so they ended up creating a role for me called a product assistant, a production assistant. And so then I became a production assistant where there's the film team and you have a lot of producers, and producers need to source content, craft videos, videographers go to editing warehouses and get all of the stuff material sourced. And so I ended up becoming an assistant, and we had like a really big um, that was when experiences were being launched in 2017, and we had to do like 13 countries worth of 300 videos, and it was fun. So that's, I ended up as a production assistant. I was my job, one of my job was I would get on a bike and I would have in my backpack a bunch of hard drives with video content, and I would bike it a mile down Brannan Street to a different warehouse, which we contracted with a video editing company, a studio. I would drop the hard drives there and they'd start editing it, and then once they're ready they would call me and I would go pick them up and bring them back. And so like that was part of my job. It was really fun. I'd get a bike around the city like a biker boy.
Wow, that's fun. And then was it around that time where you moved out of San Francisco?
Yeah, I mean that whole time, that's when I was living in, I think, when was I living in Berkeley? So the first 3 months I was living in that like 8-person 3-bedroom, it was a 10-person 3-bedroom home. We had 4 people in a room, and then I believe I moved out to Berkeley after that. So about like 4 months in, I went out to Berkeley, and then I was there in Berkeley for 10 months. So throughout the recruiting coordinator gig and the digital archivist gig, that was kind of when we were both in Berkeley. And then I moved back around a year and 2 months in to a 50-person like adult dormitory in Soma, and then moved to Mission with a group of 8 into a 5-bedroom 2-bathroom place in Mission. Yeah, it's funny.
Wow. Yeah, that was so long ago.
Dude, it's a blast from the past, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember moving to San Francisco starry-eyed, wanting to be in the startup ecosystem, knowing very little about the technology world. And I was reading TechCrunch and like Crunchbase and just being like, wow, this company raised funding. And yeah, it was like it was very fun to read about and to when I went out there to like see a lot of things firsthand. Like when my company was first at a co-working space when we were like 20 people, and yeah, some of the other companies there were like I remember walking to work and I like was in the elevator with some guy and I was like, what does your company do? And he was like, oh, we're blah 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 blah, and it was like so much jargon I didn't understand, and he pauses and he's just like, it's like Spotify meets Uber. And I just nodded my head just to be like I think like sure, whatever. I think that was a particular time where like anyone could have a startup about anything. So
That's
that
really
was a lot of
funny.
fun. Yeah. And then it turns out after like 3 or 4 months of being there, I was like, huh, I guess there's nothing particularly glamorous about here. Like I'm eating the same omelet for breakfast, and like nothing is like I'm still like going to an office. uh, and yeah, I was just like, hmm, all right. And then at the same time I saw my CEO like who like has a really great resume doing, I don't know, he would do like things that other people didn't want to do, because it would be like, oh, we need to get more sales, and then he would like have to go and like talk to potential clients and all this, and then it'd be like, oh, this thing is broken, and then he would like have to go and try to fix that. And I was like, man, that's a hard job. Like, I don't know if I want to be a CEO. Like, that was the first time I thought that.
Yes, CEOs are one of the most difficult jobs. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how CEOs do it. It's
Yeah.
so much responsibility. You do every department basically a bit, and then hopefully build out teams where people then do it way better than you. And you're expected to be able to raise funds, and you have the whole employee base built off of you and your leadership and their families once you're at the scale. Oh my god. You're like, okay, it sounds stressful.
And you need to, at the same time, you need to be like convincing everyone from all sides that you're the right person for the job, and that you're competent,
Yeah.
and that you have the right vision, and you're better than anyone else who's tried it or is trying it.
Dude, seriously.
So it's
And
like,
and
yeah.
and then on top of that, you have to figure out your um your balance sheet, your what do you I forget what the word is, all the different the equity profiles basically and disbursements. You have to figure out the board. You have to do usually your Delaware C corp. Like talk about the policy, just control. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah. But I guess you that's why you have a team around you that's helping you figure out a lot of that stuff. Hopefully you have good lawyers, and you have good operations people, and good engineers, and all of that. But yeah, startups are really hard. I mean, I guess like doing any doing any really competitive thing can be really hard in its own way. So maybe if I'm like an investment banker, the hard part is that I'm putting in so many hours and like sacrificing so much of my well-being in order to like have whatever exit opportunity or have whatever prestige and all that stuff. Whereas, if I'm building a startup, there's a lot more flexibility, and a lot fewer in terms of like, oh, this is just copy what everyone else is doing. But then you probably get a lot more of like, am I doing the right thing? Maybe a lot of doubt. I'm sure all regular people have some form of imposter syndrome, but yeah, I can't imagine how hard that is when you're building a company that maybe is doing something like a little different than what others have tried. Um, yeah, it's all hard. Can we just do easy stuff? Can we just like play the ukulele on an island and sing? I don't know, sing
Kumbaya.
Kumbaya. Yeah, there we go.
There's what you brought up an interesting thought in my head of you remember Simon Sinek, right?
Hmm.
The I'm curious of what your thoughts are. There's different terms that I hear at different companies, and there's some that use the verbiage the right to win, and so when a lot of times like CEOs and companies are like, we want to win and we want to be the dominant player, but then Simon Sinek proposes the idea of the infinite game versus the finite game. Well, he's not the one that came up with it, but he kind of espouses it. And yeah, I was just wondering what your thoughts are regarding working at any company. Is that something that you've noticed kind of might be the same or different at different companies with regards to how they perceive competition, feature growth, company growth, the end vision, whatever that end goal is, or is there an end goal?
Can you clarify the distinction between an infinite game and what'd you
The
call it?
finite
Maybe a
game?
finite game?
Yeah, yeah. So the way in which I describe it, of course, by from Simon Sinek, so I didn't come up with it, was like a baseball game. There are set rules and boundaries. There's outs here, there's fouls here, and it goes 9 innings plus overtime if needed. And there's
Mhm.
always an end. And so that's a finite game. And so people compete, compete, compete. And at the end, there's a winning outcome. In the infinite game mindset, there's the idea that if you're competing against another company, how do you really ever beat another company, right? Like, um, you could have better features, but they might have another feature that's different than yours in one way or another. Like, how do you rank or rate those types of things? And so, the one good story I heard of the infinite, um, the infinite game mindset was Simon Sinek. He sits in a cab at Uber or Lyft, and next to him in the Lyft pool, say, was a an Apple exec, and he looked at the Apple exec, and this was back in the Zune days, and he's like, "Wow, look at was it Microsoft? Microsoft's Zune is so good; it's way better than Apple's." And then the exec
Mhm.
looks at him and, without missing a beat, goes, "I wouldn't be surprised." And for some reason, there's something like Simon kind of relates from that. Oh, that's so interesting, goes off, and this exec blew my mind because instead of knowing exactly one from one what everything the competition was doing, he was just so deeply into what he was creating that he was wanting to build the best product. And even though it possibly wasn't, and I had said it wasn't even the best product, the Zune was better, he just was so focused on creating the best thing that in the end they just keep iterating, and even if they're behind, they may get ahead or something like that, and they may become what Apple has become. And I was like, oh, it's interesting. So I didn't know how to explain the infinite game very well in more than in less than a sentence or two sentences, but that's kind of the idea.
Um, yeah, sure. I mean, that sounds that sounds fine with me. I mean, it's I think anytime someone comes up with like a catchy phrase where it's like it's this or it's that, it's like, yeah, like the point that you're trying to make, I think probably makes sense in a lot of scenarios. And
Yeah, like I'm curious about your companies that you've worked at. Have you ever heard that type of lingo used by executive or C-suite or higher ups, like either winning finitely or just infinitely continuing to improve?
yeah, I think most of the companies I've worked at don't are not concerned about competitors, which
Mm.
makes sense. By the time you've heard about it, or by the time that you can use that part of the product, then it's already been built. And so they're probably already working on like next iterations. And so it's like it's always best to work on your own thing and iterate and hopefully build a really good thing. Um yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a hot take on building good product. I feel like it's just like, oh, build something that people find useful. And
Mm.
even if it's a little bit worse than the next thing, like even if you're like better at one category and you're worse at nine things, then like if it's a if it's a new thing, then there will be a lot of people who want that, like want your product because of that one feature. It's like the Porsche Taycan, for example. It has it has a worse range than the Tesla Model S. It uses a bigger battery than the Model S. It doesn't have the full self-driving feature suite that the Tesla has. It also costs way more than the Tesla. But there are people that love it because it has a higher top speed, has really good handling, um, and it's built like a Porsche. And there are some people that like they're like, it's fine if it has a range of 250 miles and has a slower 0 to 60 time, and list goes on. But it's like probably has higher build quality. Porsche has been building cars for a very long time. I don't know when it was founded, but um I'm sure the interior the interior is like way higher quality than the Model S. Um, and like there's not even a supercharger network, but yeah, like Bill Gates has one. I think he just like loves Porsches.
Wow.
So like they'll sell like tons of them just because people like the cars and they're willing to pay 150 grand for like a really good one. And I think I think it's a totally
Amazing.
fine car.
Let's see. Electric Porsche. I I looked it up. So Porsche was founded in April 25th, 1931 in Stuttgart, Germany.
Cool. So 90 years.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really pretty car. Let's
Yeah,
see.
yeah, it's a beautiful
Share
car.
share screen. That's it, right? The Porsche
Yeah.
Taycan.
Yeah, I've
Taycan or
seen it.
Taycan? Taycan.
I think Taycan.
Taycan. Cool.
Yeah, it's a
These are really
beautiful
pretty.
car. It's built really
Wow.
well. The interior has really high quality leather and build quality and all that.
Wow.
Um, it uses two gears instead of one, which is how Porsche is able to get a higher top speed.
Oh, interesting. Oh, this is not the Model S, right? Is this a concept or something?
Oh no, that's the Model
This
S
isn't
Plaid.
real.
Yeah, that's real.
Th-
That was
This is
released
real?
like yeah, that was released like 2 months ago.
Oh, that's
And
sexy.
they started delivering them like 3 weeks ago. Yeah,
Wow.
they have the yoke steering wheel and they have zero they don't have any like windshield wiper or like any of those like
The
what are those
knobs,
called?
like
Yeah, they don't
the
have any of
jet
those.
outs. No way.
Like it
Wow.
guesses it makes guesses about if you want to reverse or go forward, which I thought was so dangerous, but I guess it works. And then you can use the screen if you really want to change it.
That's really cool. Well, I've never, is that actually allowed to have steering wheels that are not circular? All right. I guess they
You
do it in cars. I guess
can yeah,
so.
you can
In
see the top
F1.
screen better now.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, because the little I know about this whole competition scene of cars is I know that like Tesla also wanted to just remove side view mirrors, right? And that's not allowed because there's like an antiquated law that says you have to have side view mirrors. And so they can't. But I guess there's no law against the steering wheel. But I don't think I've ever seen a car on the road that's not an F1 that has non-circular steering wheel. This is blowing my mind.
Yeah, I mean that's a really that's this is the $130,000 like 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds car.
That's amazing.
The normal Tesla only has some of these features,
Got you.
but
Got you.
um
Wow.
yeah. So I had a performance review, like a pretty informal one, and they asked the question like where do you see yourself like where do you see your career progressing like 3 years from now?
The worst question ever.
And I was like, all right, I'll be honest, whatever. And I wrote, I think like it'll be either of these three things, probably. And then I said, the first is I'll continue to be working in the financial services world and getting better at my craft. The second is I'm gonna be doing graduate school and I might work and I might not while I'm doing it. And then the third one is I'm gonna take a pay cut and try to fight climate change.
I love it.
So yeah, my mentor messaged me and he said, "Hey, I think we're like whatever if you want to chat about it. Like I think we're mostly aligned. Um I'm not sure if you can address climate change from here, but I was like, oh man, was I too honest?
Nah, you should be fine. Do you have a good relationship? How's your relationship with your manager?
I don't really have a manager. Like it's we truly have a flat structure where like everyone builds things and fixes bugs, and we have mentors that are like kind of like 20% managers.
Hmm.
So yeah. So my mentor has been helping me with pull request feedback and making sure I get context on certain features that I need to build. Um, but yeah, like no one has a manager.
Who hires then? Who talks about salary and negotiations or the
I
other
talked with my
devs?
yeah. So my first um yeah. So I had my first interview was with my current mentor right now. And then when he went over like, oh, this is what you're getting for your bonus and all that stuff, he was the one to tell me. And then we have kind of like a mentors who's like kind of runs the like it's a big team of like 100 people maybe, but it's like not one person is not going to manage 100 people. So he's kind of like the mentor of everyone else who is a mentor. So like makes this tree of like informal managers.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's interesting. Um I guess the benefit is I have a lot fewer meetings. Like I don't have weekly one-on-ones, but then I mean I have some other meetings, but like I probably have like two or three recurring meetings. Um and then the other person who I thought could be a manager, like he was a manager at the company that got acquired by our company. Uh I like met up with him one time, and we were sitting on his porch, and he looks at me, he's like, did you realize no one at Virtue has a manager? He's like and I was like, oh shit, I thought you might have kind of been that person. I guess not. um
Good. That sounds. I don't know. I feel like that's good and bad. Do you feel like like how does it make you? How does career progression or how does mentorship work? I guess you just have a mentor, but then if you want to talk about like salary or title, you go through HR or the mentor. Like a co-working mentor isn't someone you talk to about that type of stuff, right?
yeah, I don't honestly honestly I'm just like they can give me a raise if they want, and then if I feel like I'm not getting a fair market value, then I'll just like
Who'd you let know?
like oh, I don't know. I'll let you know when I figure it out.
Interesting. That's
But
just like so curious. Wow. Huh.
I mean I think it's all fair right now, so I'm not like vying for a whatever percentage raise,
No, totally. That makes sense. Yeah, just
but yeah,
yeah.
I don't
Maybe
know.
no. Maybe managers aren't needed. I don't know. Maybe that is a new thing. Maybe that's the way it should go. Maybe huh.
I don't know.
Men
I think it's one of
mentors.
those things where if you have a really good manager, then it could be really good. And then if not, then it's like that person would rather be in my situation. Or if you're someone who's really good at finding what's important to work on and you just do that,
Hmm.
which I'm like trying to get better at. Um yeah, yeah, it's interesting. It's like no one there's no like product manager that's like oh, these are the what we need to work on for the next 2 weeks. It's
Wow.
more just like, hey, go. There's all these problems. Go look for them.
Really?
Okay.
You don't even have like a priority queue? Like is there any maintenance of a priority queue or something you pull off the top that's the highest
Yeah.
necessary
Well,
urgent thing?
yeah, we have we have sprints, and then we meet every 2 weeks, and
Salud.
oh, sorry.
Bless you.
Yeah, we have sprints, and then we have a sprint board, and we have Jira tickets and stuff. So
Delightful.
I don't know. Yeah, my goal. Yeah,
Tangent. Tangent. Have you ever had Soylent?
yeah, I have.
I was just thinking about it. Not just now. I was listening to you, of course. But um, for I tried to live off Soylent for about like 4 months in San Francisco when I was there. I lost 10 pounds. I
Oh,
was trying
great.
vegetarianism.
If your
Yeah,
goal is
it
to
was
lose
bad.
10 pounds.
It's really bad. I'm already like a skinny dude. It was so bad.
I was drinking Huel when I was in New York City, just because I was like cooking for myself, and so I would drink Huel on those days where I didn't want to cook.
What's Huel again?
Huel is a Soylent competitor,
Oh, interesting. Nice, nice. Yeah,
but
good stuff.
yeah, I mean it works. Yeah, it works. It is food.
I remember I kept every morning I would make an omelet, and then for lunch and dinner I mean, didn't cook, so I would drink Soylent. It's so bad.
When you're
Not
in San
good, man.
Francisco at Airbnb.
No, this is like in uh well, I guess on the weekends. What did I do? I guess I was at Airbnb the whole time, right? Hmm. I hmm. No, you're right. I feel like no, well, on the weekends I would eat an omelet Saturday, Sunday, and then just drink Soylent. And then
Wow.
I was trying to save as much money as I could at the time because I could barely break even to afford rent. And so I would it's so bad, but that's why they do it. You know, that's why they give you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I would get there for breakfast at like 8 and then be there until 6:30 to just get dinner as well. So during the week I was like always at the office. Yeah. Yeah. It was a weird time. Weird time. Didn't come
Yeah.
out with savings at all. At all.
I mean, it's hard to do out there with the salaries that we were making.
Yeah. Dude, a bunk bed cost me $12.50 a month.
That's great.
In like an 8-person home. It was unreal. The first place I ever stayed there, I it cost me, you know that the 4, 8, 9, 10. I think 10 people in a 3-bedroom place, and I was in a two bunk beds, so 4 beds, 4 people in one room. I paid per month there $1,000 a month.
Wow. 4 people in one room.
Yeah, for 1,000 a month. I was in Soma, right in Mission. Um,
I mean, that's a nice location though.
yeah, yeah, it was quite nice. I didn't know anything at the time, so I didn't have a bike or anything, so didn't make the most of it. But that was when we were at Koru. But then moved out to Berlin. Like for a single bedroom, you could get a single bedroom in a nicer, bigger house with people for 1,000 a month, or plus or minus. Like, okay, we'll do that for a bit.
Yeah, I lived in a hostel that was a 20-minute walk when I was at Koru.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I
Wow.
think it was like 1100 or something for me. Something like that.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
it kind of sucked, which I'm sure you can relate with. Like it was just like one giant open space, and there were like 30 beds or something.
You're kidding. For 1,100 a month, that makes sense. It just doesn't. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
And yeah, I mean, I didn't always sleep well, and you have a lot of people that come in for a conference, or they come in because they're like looking for housing, but then there will be times where I come home and I just want to like cook and go to bed.
So did they provide a kitchen for you to cook in, or?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
but yeah, that was that was rough.
I feel like hostels are an optimal place to stay for a few days, if not a week or so, and when traveling, and then you get to meet everybody. But for you, when you're in a 30-person hostel and you're there for like a long period, 1+ month, did you find it actually nice in the sense of meeting people when you need to be as a transplant to San Francisco? Or if you could do it again and did it again, would you have any other suggestions for anyone at that budget range of 1,200 a month?
I didn't want to meet anyone because I was doing the Koru thing. And for those of you listening, Koru is this like career boot camp thing that for recent college grads that I think they pivoted, and now they have a service for companies now to help with hiring. But yeah, at the time it was like 3 weeks, and you would show up every day, and they would like I think it was good. I think it was fine. It was
Yeah,
fun.
that's a career development program for new grads.
Um, but yeah, because I did that during the day. I didn't want to meet anyone when I got home.
That makes sense. Makes
So
a lot of sense.
so yeah, I would have loved to live in a studio apartment by myself. That would have been
What
great.
would that cost? What would that cost? Like 3,500 a month or something? Three
Yeah.
thousand in San Francisco. Oh man. What, you couldn't afford that at the time? Come on. Good. Yeah.
I think I
San
made the
Francisco is a
best
crazy place.
I made the best decisions that I could at the time. I think I might have loosened up a little bit because I was especially frugal back then. So I think if I could talked to John at age 22 or 23, I'll just give him a hug and be like, hey, you don't have to be so hard on yourself. Like go go eat a nice dinner once in a while, or go I don't know. Yeah. It's I am glad that I was frugal when I was like 22 to mid 20s instead of like when I'm 40 years old, because I got laid off or whatever. So better to have when you're younger so that you can make things better for future you. Way better than the other way around, where you're young and you're dumb and you're buying nice stuff, and then you're like, oh, whatever my income was before is it's not there anymore, or I lost my job or whatever. So I'm glad it was that way.
Dude, I hear you.
And yeah.
Hmm.
Do you consider yourself frugal?
Especially in San Francisco, definitely. I mean, when you're saying that, it just makes so much sense of trying to just save money there on a salary that was not a developer salary. You grad
Right.
developers. Yeah, I remember sitting with some recent college grads that were CS majors, and of course I wasn't, and they were working. One was at like Snapchat, a few were at other dev tech startups, and whatever in the city. And I remember getting a meal with them, and I was already like at that meal, I was like, oh man, I have to get a meal. But sure, like I haven't seen these people in a long time. And then at the meal, they're talking and they're just, they're just friends and they're just talking. But one of them goes and starts complaining, like, I didn't get a raise as much as I had hoped. Like, I should have gotten so much more. I only got like a few thousand and now I'm only making like 110,000. And I was like, what? That was the first moment I went, wait, what? In my head, I just looked at them and I was like, you're complaining about making what, Emma? Like, how much do you? I did not expect or understand or realize people my age just out of college were able to make that much money. And I was hearing them complaining about it, and that just kind of miffed me a bit. But internally, I was just like, I'm not even close to that. Yeah, that was the first moment I ever realized, oh, sometimes, well, there's a lot of things that moment made me realize, but one of them, it is like, man, I don't know. I get conflicted now of like, do what you love, do what you're passionate about, study those, or do a major that's actually pays well in the beginning. I don't know. Like, I was a media studies major, film photo. You can't make money. You can't even get close to that type of pay bracket. I'm like 1 in a million, dude. I'm like, wow. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
a hard
that's
one.
tricky because I would want it. Like if someone like loves photography, like I would love for that person to just like pursue his or her craft and kind of see where that goes, and like maybe you make like some kind of creative contribution to the world. And I think there are ways. Like I think there are ways where you can, you can be like do like wedding photography, or you can like um work on commercials for a company, or you can do like there's tons of like videography stuff. But yeah, I feel like there is a point where you do have to think about business goals and not whatever a creative person finds fulfilling.
Yep.
But it's like it's a huge privilege if like let's say you love like doing finger painting, but then like it's a huge privilege if you can like do finger painting and like even if you're making something that isn't your first choice, but like because some client asked for it, like that's a huge privilege if someone's willing to pay for it.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. I think in general, for a person who doesn't know what he or she wants to do, then hopefully if you have a knack for like solving problems and stuff, and like I think a career in tech is probably the best option for most people, for like most young people. Not to be ageist, but if you're older than us and want to do tech, don't let it stop you. Go do it.
Don't let your dreams be
Uh,
dreams. Achieve them.
just do it.
Yeah. Just that.
But yeah, I think it is the best option for most people to do that. Whether you're doing like PM or data science or software development or
Or product designer.
yeah.
That's actually something I would think about. Like, if you're an artist and are not making enough money and coding is, I do think there's a lot of tech industry abilities to possibly, or um, roles that can be a bit more creative and design side that are pretty well paid compared to being like, wedding photographers are great. Just getting that whole clientele built up and getting the portfolio and stuff is, oh God. Yeah. I just didn't try hard enough, I guess. But some people make it work. But I think in the future, in the next 10, 20, 25 years, tech jobs that are super creative, um, and dev jobs that are super creative, and PM jobs super creative, they're really, really, really solid to go into. And the thing that I always like this one quote, again, a bit of a Jobs fanboy, was there was an interview by him and he's like, he's like, who is it that you hire, and who are the people at Apple that are with you on your quote unquote pirate ship back in the day? And he's like, you know, um, they're not developers, they're not product managers, they're not designers, right? They're artists, videographers, photographers, basketball players, and they've decided to go a path of joining Apple and going in these other routes, but they are basically making money doing that passion just in a different way, right? Like they're like funneling that creative energy in a different way, but come from those different backgrounds. And I thought that was like a really cool idea of like, oh, they're not a product designer, they are an artist if they're an artist, right? Like they're not a dev, they just find, like if you're a community driven person and you want to throw social events, maybe you'd be better as a product manager because you then can funnel that energy of creating social events into creating really cool products for people that improve their lives, so it was just a really interesting way he contextualized the people and the coworkers that worked on products, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
I heard that he would interview people and he would just sit there and he'd be like, have you ever been in love? Like,
I'm
have you
not
ever taken
surprised,
LSD?
honestly. I'm not
Just
surprised
like
there either.
ask
You,
in
you know he
this
would
day and age, like totally inappropriate questions.
he washed feet in the toilet before most every keynote, right?
What a
Like
weirdo.
yeah, he only cares for a long time and stuff like that. I mean, he is a very weird dude in many different ways, and had a lot of child. So I'm not, I don't know. It
And
just
he would,
he's a
yeah.
weird guy.
And he hated having a license plate. And so he would lease a new car I think
Yeah.
you're allowed to have not a license plate for like 3 months. So he would lease a new car every 3 months, but it was the same car.
Yep. Not surprised. Not
Um,
surprised at all.
yeah. Can I also suggest the alternative route of someone who has a tech career and tries to find meaning and fulfillment out of it, um, but on the side does a creative endeavor like make a podcast. So I don't know.
How
Is
curious.
this is this creative? Do you think we're doing creative stuff here? I feel like the conversation part is just like it's just a conversation, but I don't know. What do you think?
I find yeah, and referencing episode 1, the reason I do this today, I was excited because I was like, episode 20, we're actually gonna just chat again. It's been so long. This is my way to hang out with you. It's kind of cathartic. So I think it's creative in its own. It's really,
We're being creative.
oh,
I think
dude,
so. I think
I know.
yeah.
Go for it.
I think the way that we're like the way where I was like, oh, I found this random person on Fiverr to do an intro, and then we're gonna use part of that footage for the outro, and I'll just do this thing where I annotate the chapters because, and then some people will be like, oh, like my sister will be like, oh, I'll see a video, and I'll be like, okay, my brother's still alive, and then she'll like click on the chapter that she cares about. Um, yeah, and it's interesting. Like uh, Eugene, one of our listeners, he calls me a few days ago. He's like, dude, you haven't been uploading recently because we didn't upload this week.
Yeah, that's okay though.
And I was like, dude, the one or two fans are counting on us. And yeah,
We did record though, so
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
we
good.
have they're coming in the queue. So by the time you hear this, the other episodes will be released. But I think there's a lot of creativity and like you come up with the thumbnail and like you're drawing it um and then we're both like, oh, like I'm gonna get my friend whatever on here, and then we just try to like make everything work and kind of like promote it. It's just like it's just this organic, like, let's see what you come up with, let's see what I come up with. Oh, I saw my friend the other day. I'm like, or like, hey, I haven't seen my friend in a few years. I'm just gonna text him and be like, you want to be on my podcast? Which I think I will do. Um, so I do think there's, it can be as creative or as not creative as we want, but then like by default, I think it is creative. Like it doesn't feel like a job. It just feels like something I get to do.
Dude, I love it. So I think like to tail off of that, and I know the hours coming up, but look at this on the creative side of things. So uh, to frame it, we work and we enjoy our jobs in our respective ways, and we're creating this. This is the first thing, I think I said it before, but it's the first thing I've ever actually consistently done as a side project for so long. Dude, we've made it half a year. If you think about it, like 26 episodes. So we're almost at half a year, right? Per week. Yeah. And so we're getting there. But then there's other people who do this. And I was reading this article today from a friend. He sent it to me. So this is on Hacker News. And so I currently have 10 fully remote engineering jobs. The bar is so low, oversight is non-existent, and everyone is forgiving for underperforming. I can coast about 4 to 8 weeks before a given job fires me. Currently, I'm working and making on about a $1.5 million run rate for compensation this year. And the interviewing process is so much faster today. It takes me 2 to 3 hours of total effort to land a new job with thousands to choose from. And then you like read and he's like, yeah, 10 jobs and spend about an hour a day on them. I'm like, huh, this guy's working 10 jobs. I don't know if I would want to do that. This is a lot of money. I think he's a data scientist or something like that. But I just find it to be such a fascinating, different route.
Yeah, I saw that post. It was so yeah. I think it's facetious, but yeah, there's a
You
website. I
think
think it
it's
was like,
like not real? You think it's fake?
dude, I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
actually,
know.
I'm assuming this is facetious. Oh, I guess that makes sense. Huh.
10 seems like a lot, like maybe three or
Yes.
four. But hey,
I,
we're newbies when it comes to having more than one job. But
right?
yeah,
I have no idea.
there's a website called, I think, overemployed.com, something like that. But it's a forum, it's a community of people who try to have two jobs. And they'll leave questions with people like, how do you do two meetings at once? And I'm just like, this is such a headache.
Yeah, this morning I did 2 meetings and I was like thinking about this guy. That's why I kind of brought this one up because it was just top of my head. I could hear my name on a question for a design thing I had to support, and then another one over here. And I was like, how did that guy do 10? Like, I'm sure there'd be like 4 or 5 going on at a time. Um, and like came up because I'm working at WeWork at a co-working space every few days now. And there's a guy, and it's the first time I've ever seen somebody with 3 laptops in front of him. And I was like, hey man, I've got to ask, what are the 3 laptops for? And he's like, oh yeah, that's my personal, that's work one, and that's work two. And I was like, oh my God, this is real. And then I came back to this, like, oh my God, there's someone out with 10. And I was like, wow.
Wait, he has two
So
jobs?
yeah, the dude straight up has 3 laptops. He has one laptop as a personal MacBook Air. The other two are MacBook Air, MacBook Pros. And one he said is a job and another job. And I was like, what do you do? And he was a tech recruiter or something like that. So I was like, oh, maybe like tech recruiters can do that. I don't know. It blew my mind. I've seen it in flesh
Wow.
yesterday.
I've only done two laptops, so that guy is a level ahead of me.
But I just thought that was an interesting thing. I would rather spend my time not working 10 hours a day, even though I don't know, maybe $1 million a year would be really nice though. I don't think it's possible for me, but some people, I'd rather work on Moonty.
Yeah. If I made $1 million a year, I would quit after like 3 years. And actually, actually, I don't know, because so much of it goes to taxes. I don't know. I don't want to think about it. I know some of my coworkers, do make that much, but they're also like 20 years older than me, or like 15 years older than me. So
That's something that I've been wanting to, maybe in a future episode when we have no guest on, to think and talk more, as because I'm just learning a bit more about like one, finances, like how does one even think about different ways of saving. I don't really know much about Roth IRAs. Our company doesn't do matching yet and stuff, so I'm still figuring all of that out. But two, it's like, what is the number? Like, is the number 4 million at a 6% interest in an S&P 500, and then you just live off the interest rate at 200,000 a year if you ever make that amount, and then just go and cruise through life and then make more money on the side, but that's your nest egg? Or like, what's the strategy? What's like the base goal? If I ever make $4 million, that would be unreal, right? But I'm just, one day, this is the end of this episode, I'm sure, but I think a really fun episode to talk about of like real strategy and what are the possibilities.
yeah, it's gonna be different for everyone. And it depends on what depends on what you want. You being a generic like person, so sure. I mean, we can talk about it. There's a bunch of like blog posts on the internet and like people on the internet writing about their experiences, but yeah, sure, we can talk about it next time. There's a lot of like
Maybe
blog
parse
posts
through
we
a
can
good
look
blog
at.
or something. Let's find like a blog post maybe and do what we did with that a few episodes ago, where we read through
Yeah,
it and talked about
I
it.
read a really cool one yesterday that I can link to, and you can read it if you want, and or
Yeah.
read it when we do it. But yeah, uh yeah, that's cool. We'll see. Anything else?
Nope.
Should we, I guess we should invite guests for next week. We'll discuss it later. All right, Hugh, go for it.
Alrighties. Everybody, thank you again for tuning into another episode of the Moon Tea Podcast, episode 20. This is where we talk about craft, community, and building meaningful careers. Somehow, John and I are making it through life, and I hope you do too. Anyways, we're gonna talk to you next week. Bye.